Before I begin tonight's presentation, I just wanted to show that I have the two charts that we were required to have. And since I have no other way of showing it throughout the speech, I'm just going to hand it to the audience for reference.
You showed us all your arms in the way.
Oh, my bad. There we go.
Through.
There's the view. Alright, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Alex Morak. What can you do to give back to those who have given the ultimate sacrifice for you and me? Tonight, I will be discussing with you what I believe to be the most worthy charity for my $1 million donation. There are men and women every day who are fighting to protect, or fighting for our freedom and fighting to protect you and me. If you have not already guessed, the donation I'll be giving will be going towards the Wounded Warrior Project. In the duration of the speech, I will be discussing with you some of the background on the Wounded Warrior Project. I'll then tell you about why I believe it is the most important foundation, and then finally I will tell you where all the contributions and donations go, what they go towards. To begin, I would like to give you some background on the Wounded Warrior Project. The Wounded Warrior Project has been helping and supporting our wounded veterans since 2003. It was established soon after 9/11 in 2001, and its main purpose is to help support those veterans that are wounded, because obviously when they come back, they don't have a leg up on everybody else. In fact, sometimes they have a leg down. They're wounded and they're just not doing well. So the main thing for the Wounded Warrior Project is to help support and give any aid to those that need it. After research, I found their mission statement, and their mission statement is to foster the most successful, well-adjusted generation of wounded service members in our nation's history. Now I'd like to talk to you about why I believe it to be the most important foundation. I personally have the utmost respect for those who fight for our country, and growing up in a military household, I began to learn and understand some of the burdens and blessings that those in the military face. By far the biggest hardship that they face is being deployed and being far away from home and family for extended periods of time. And during their deployments, they obviously are facing life-threatening situations on a daily basis. And another thing is, on those life-threatening situations, if they get hurt or injured, whether it's mentally or physically, I believe they should get as much help as they need. One story I actually was able to find was of First Lieutenant Jeffrey Adams. He lost his leg on November 7th in 2004. He was returning from a patrol when his unit stumbled upon what they believed to be an IED, an improvised explosive device. After reacting to it as such, they found that it was nothing more than a dummy IED. However, there was another one that was put about 10 feet away from him and was detonated when he was close enough to it, and he lost his leg. He has had a full recovery today, free of all expense, thank you to the Wounded Warrior Project. They covered all expenses for him, and now he lives in Huntsville, Alabama, with his wife Kate and his daughter. Without the Wounded Warrior Project, we would have a very limited system for our wounded veterans. There would not be any support system for our veterans, or at least not a very big system. Last year alone, they raised $218 million for the wounded veterans. This brings me to my final point. Where do all of the contributions go? Last year, as I stated, they were able to raise $218 million for our veterans. And of that $218 million, $175 of it was able to go directly to the cause. Now, I'm sure you're asking yourself, where did the other $43 million go? Of that $43 million, obviously, it's all overhead costs, which all foundations are going to have. And I know it may seem like a lot of money, but I believe it is necessary. 34 of that $43 million was going towards fundraising, and the other $9 million was going towards basically just, it's not other overhead costs. Administrative costs is what it went towards. Now, I know you may seem, well, that's, like I said, $43 million is a lot of money. Why is it going towards anything besides the cause? And I ask you to stop, pause, and think about that for a second. I recently watched a video about how we all look at nonprofit organizations in the wrong way. John Palota last year spoke at the TED convention and spoke just about this. He talked about how if we did not have we didn't have any portion of our donations going towards fundraising and advertising, then would we still have as much coming in overall? And those are the charts I have there referring to you. One of the things he showed were two pie graphs. It represented two different companies. while the other company was able to spend 40% of its on fundraising and advertising. Now, the company who only spent 4% only raised $71 that went towards the cause, while the company who spent 40% actually raised $71 million. So then my question is, would you rather have a portion of your money going towards fundraising and advertising, and then the cause being able to benefit overall, or have it all just go towards the cause, and then maybe the cause will suffer and not have as much money as if it did with fundraising and advertising? I would like to conclude the night with revisiting back with what I spoke with you about. I first gave you a little bit of the background on the Wounded Warrior Project and when it was established. I then told you why I believe it is the most important foundation, and I shared with you Lieutenant Adams' story. Finally, I spoke with you about where all the donations go and how they are used. I would now like to open up the floor for any questions that you may have. Go ahead.
Okay, so you said that the overhead is an expense. Would you say that the Wounded Warrior program has a higher overhead expense than many other charities, or would you say that they are in line with other charities as far as having, ratio of overhead expenses?
Right. Well, actually, like I said, it's 80%. Or I'm not sure if I stated that. 80% of that, all the money they generated, is going directly towards the cause. So it's only 20% that's going towards fundraising and administrative cost. And as you saw by the numbers, of that 20%, the majority of that 20% is going towards fundraising and advertising. It's not being paid out to people for their salaries and stuff. The majority of it is going, like I said, towards fundraising. So as compared to other companies, it's right in line with other companies, or maybe a little bit better. Any other questions?
What kind of events does the Wounded Warrior Project sponsor? You talk about these overhead expenses, so give me some examples.
Sure. Well, some of the fundraisers they actually run, they have multiple 8Ks they do all around the nation. In fact, some of the places are like Colorado Springs, Jacksonville, Florida, San Antonio, Texas, Norfolk, Virginia, and then Phoenix, Arizona, and there's a couple other places. But they actually host these big 8Ks and this fundraising stuff. One thing I read about was the donation. I think they have a minimum donation of like $100 for them. But then they have, like I said, they have a wide variety of all those 8Ks around for fundraising and whatnot.
Other than contributing money to the Wounded Warriors, is there anything else that they do?
Sure. Well, like you said, they do pay for medical bills and like expenses like that, and help with like prosthetic legs and arms, stuff like that. But in addition to that, they also, for the mental side, for those who have suffer from PTSD, they have cases where they go in and they have a program. It's called the Odyssey program, I believe. And they go throughout the whole, I'm not sure how long it is, but during the duration of it, they have professionals that go and meet with the people who are suffering from PTSD and try to help them get better. And again, another fact I read about was they took a poll on it, and 86% of those that went through the Odyssey program believed it actually did help and benefit them in the long run. Any other questions?
Besides the Wounded Warrior Project, what are other forms of support that the military gets, or lack of support? Reasons for the lack of support for the Wounded Warriors.
So what do you mean now? Are you saying so? In addition, are there other foundations?
Are there other
out there?
foundations?
The Wounded Warrior Project is the only one that I have heard of, honestly. And I'm sure there's more other ones out there, but I believe the Wounded Warrior Project is one of the biggest ones, as I had talked about earlier on. I did not do too much research on other companies outside of this one.